Well, I don't know when you say brief to a former academic. We are actually paid to talk, and for me to be brief, it's a bit difficult, but I'll try to do justice to that. I would want to appreciate the opportunity. I was actually told at a very short notice to share my brief experience, which I have with the late. Those of you who are sitting around next to me here, you have more vast experience in interacting with the late chief. Some of you went to school together. Some of you spent, quality time together. I had a brief period of time that I spent with him, and this is what I want to share with you. But I would also want to acknowledge a few colleagues in the audience, and I keep telling. I was meeting Dr. Chipanganjara the other day, and I said that maybe it's best we go back to New York so we interact more. I saw a lot of colleagues. Joe is here, and a few others, and I think yourselves. Namibia is a bit vast, and all of us are caught in the rat race. I suggest and I suspect that we don't meet each other. I see a few lawyers here in our midst, of course. For some of them, my former students. Maybe you see my own products. And I see some colleagues from the academia, 10 politicians. So I'm not the only one, academia 10 traditional, I think. And Dr. Itula here as well. Colleagues, welcome and everybody. And then, of course, our businessmen of repute, Ben Aruka there in the crowd. Rukoro was my friend for almost 8 to about 10 years when we met. We actually met at a time when both of us were appointed as advisors to the former Paramount Chief, Riruako. That's basically the first time that I started really getting to know him and spending some quality time together with him. And I think what I'm going to share with you here, these are personal account. And maybe these are some of the things that you will find in the book narrated by the writers from their own experience. And I would want to do the same thing also, share a bit of experience that I have with them. And I would want to start with the lighter things. As a friend, I still cherish quite a lot of fond and enduring memories. We used to do simple things. Maybe we want to talk maybe we want to discuss something. We will drive all the way to Okanja, driving very, very slow. And I don't know how many of you know the secret of some of the stores that are selling some nice French fries there. They call, we call it chips and a bit of boerewors. We go there and we have a lighter moment. Mind you, it was sometimes during those trips that we were able to plan some of the critical things that we have done in the authority or advise the former Paramount Chief on. I also, I think I should narrate the first experience that we have when we were asked to advise the Paramount Chief. Now, the irony was that both of us were not necessarily members of NUDO at the time. We were SWAPO members. And I remember when we were introduced in the hall, the first reaction was that, how can two SWAPO guys advise a Paramount Chief? That is the opposition that hit us at the time. And Chief Riruako, as people were asking this question, he just stood up and he said, well, I'm the leader of all Hereros. I don't care which political party you follow. And I think that, in my opinion, put to rest some of the oppositions that we were facing that day. And then some people were asking about the changes that he have done to the legal system, and I think you are aware of that. Started by the late Kolongwidi, it's known as the Kolongwidi Commission. And Advocate Rukoro, of course, finished that part. And the Hereros didn't take it quite well. And when we were introduced there, they were saying, which Rukoro are you bringing here? You see, the first one, the same person who made things difficult for us in terms of what traditional law. And I remember coming to his rescue at the time. I stood up and I said, well, no person on the face of the earth should die, with a guilt. I mean, if you think that you have done something wrong, give him the opportunity to correct what you've done. And I think from that premise going on forward, we were accepted, and we really started working, with the chief and the rest of the community. And a few things that I would want to highlight, and I'll be very, 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 very brief, because I was delayed. I was having another meeting in Okahanja, and I just came to the gathering here. We were part of the first group that went to repatriate the first skulls, to Namibia. And that is one thing that stick and remain in my mind, how we plan the whole thing. I think you remember when Chief Riruako started talking about the skulls, there are some that said, now he went nuts. There's nothing like that. And I think it was Professor Kachavivi during one of his trips that came across the information that, yes, there are skulls. I don't know what the actual number is. I think maybe the politicians will know better. But at that time, they were rumored to be about over 3,000 skulls that were there. And then we started this whole exercise, and it was a very, very moving time for our people. I mean, if you know, I don't know how many of you have read the book by Dresta Holz, the Kaiser Report, and many of you have read the Blue Book, and you have read many of these books. They are very moving and chilling experience on some of the atrocities that our people have experienced. The mere fact that some of the skulls that we went to repatriate were cut from living human beings, and their own family members were asked to clean these skulls and pack them in boxes so that they can be sold to the to the Germans, sometimes to private individual who had these heads as memorabilia or trophies in their living room, with little disregard to our people. And then others, of course, find their ways in museum. And I remember our experience when we went to Charité Hotel, in university, where we collected the skulls. It was a very cold and very chilling and moving experience. And it was a very, very, very moving experience. I remember almost everybody when we went there, they were crying their lungs out, And I thought I was very strong when we went. I remember during that trip, Ed Charité was the one doing the translation with the late Katutura, the former parliamentarian, and Kadenambo was the MC. I thought I was very strong because Kadenambo was not only a tough person, but he was also a very caring person. He was crying throughout the event. I went to my room, and I remember that night when when everybody was gone. That's when it hit me. I look at the skull of a 2-year-old Nama child. And at that time, when I went to repatriate the skull, I have a 3-year-old child. And the one thing that hit me was basically what were the Germans wanting to find out in a 2-year-old child? Because mine could hardly speak when I went there. And I understand that they wanted to look at the size of the brain because there was this myth that black people have big skulls and very small brain, and But what the very moving thing is that there were no Germans slaughtered for them to go bear these heads. It was only our people. The other, while we were there, we were not only an advisor to Chief Riruako. I remember we started advising many of the chiefs that went there. And where I could remember that Advocate Rukoro sometimes can stand his ground, we were dealing with the people from the Third Reich. And they were telling us, why don't you create an impasse? You don't take the skulls back. You refuse to take them, and you also refuse to leave. And then see, what debacle, it could bring. And then I remember the two of us went to Chief Riruako. He was laying in his bed, resting during the day. And then we told him of the news that we got from the Third Reich. And he paused for a while and he said, well, these people are living. I talked to them. Maybe you don't see what I see. I came to repatriate these heads and I'm going back. And that's when I saw Advocat getting very, very angry. And he was shaking. I mean, the words that he said I could not relay in a meeting like this. Which I have asked him also, please tone down your words. You know, when you become a traditional leader, you are taken through a number of rituals, and there are certain things that can be said against you. And I don't know whether it was a coincidence. That day, we were scheduled to address a German select committee on the genocide issue. It was me, the late advocate, Hewitt Bierkes, Ida Hoffman, and your father, Justice Munjwa. And the pain, you know, he all of a sudden got sick. And I think, remember, we left him behind. And he couldn't bear the pain. We were sitting, the taxi that drove us close to Parliament, drove us next to a pharmacy. And I said, well, he was actually laying on my lap. The pain was unbearable. And I decided, why don't we just get some prescription pills here or some pills and then take you back to the hotel. That's what we did. So he missed this committee that we went to. And his contribution was missed. As you know, he was a very articulate, very forthright, person. But that is one experience. The other experience that I see the gentleman is standing now next to me here, that we also experienced when we were there. Maybe I should let me finish up on that story and leave the rest of the story maybe for questions later. We decided, when Chief Riruako said that no, we are going to take the skulls, we decided, why don't we go and talk to the other chiefs? And I remember vividly, we went to talk to Leibert, one of the former DTA parliamentarian, I think Ten Swapo, if I'm not mistaken. And he made an apology, which I thought was very well, it's worthwhile reiterating it. He said, well, if you are a hunter, and you go to the field to hunt, if you fail to come back, not even with a squirrel, you are not a good hunter at all. So we are going back, we are taking this skull. So that only, worsened the situation. The last part that I would want to talk about, and this is the fact, I don't know whether it is a coincidence or whether there is a reality to it. Advocate Rukoro was appointed as an advisor to Chief Riruako. Myself, I was appointed. Rukoro followed up on Riruako as the Paramount Chief. I followed on Rukoro as the Paramount Chief. Well, the dispute that was mentioned earlier, so that's still lingering on. But then, if you take Riruako, was also an advisor to the late Clemens Kapoor. He was an advisor to Clemens Kapoor, and he was also a NUDO representative in New York. Coincidentally, also, he became Paramount Chief. Chief Hoze Riruako had an advisor of the name of Clemens Kapoor. And after the passing on of Clemens Kapoor, of Chief Kutako, Clemens Kapoor also took over. And I remember the two of us at one time joking, and this is what I'm going to end my contribution on, saying that, maybe one of us will become chief. And I said, well, I'm looking at you as the next Paramount Chief, and that's actually what happened. Finally, Rukoro and I, we were very close for that time. Mm-hmm. I remember the time when his wife passed on. I don't see Honorable Chihuiko here. I remember the first call that he made. He asked Chihuiko to call me. I was on the way to the airport going to South Africa. And he told me, you can hardly hear him. telling that, and unfortunately, Mary have left us. I was the one who informed the president, and I think the rest of the story, most of you knows, President went and paid his courtesy call and consoled the family. Those are the few contributions. I would have said more, but for the sake of time, and I know that there could be a question and answering session, I would really want to appreciate the opportunity, and I want to thank the two authors. It is not our culture as African to write. This is a rarity. And you can see, even as academics, there are few books on our name. I have written a number of books. It's a culture that has not been inculcated so much in our DNA, let alone the culture of writing. As the old adage says, that if you want to hide anything from a black person, put it in a book and they won't read it. I have tried that with money. Just put money in the middle of the book, but not a colorful book with pictures. Put it in a Bible. It will remain there because nobody will open it. Thank you for the opportunity.